Right, 10 May 2020, and today I want to look at the interview that Morgan Komichi had on Friday with 263 Chat. And during this interview, Morgan Komichi explained a number of things. But the most important thing is he challenged Nelson Chamisa to leave and form his own political party if he thinks he's more popular than the MDC. So that was the biggest takeaway from that interview that he had. And then he covered a number of other issues. He also dealt with Tendai Biti and Judgement Mube. And I'm going to quickly run through all the points that he covered during this interview. And then I'm going to conclude. So let's look at the first point that he covered, which is the issue of the Supreme Court judgment. Komichi said the Supreme Court judgment must be obeyed by the MDC. The MDC should respect the Supreme Court judgment, including people like Nelson Chamisa, MPs, councillors, and senators. He also said no one owns MPs, councillors, and senators, and no one has a right to withdraw them. This was in response to that call by Nelson Chamisa's faction that MPs from MDC are recalled or are withdrawn from parliament. So this was a very clear statement, and Komichi said he's going to be calling a caucus meeting of MDC MPs, councillors, and senators very soon. Then I want to go to the second point, and this is to do with Nelson Chamisa. Komichi said they've approached Nelson Chamisa through emissaries to tell him to obey or respect the Supreme Court ruling. And Nelson Chamisa has said, or in fact, Nelson Chamisa has responded by saying, Komichi akatengesa, or Komichi has sold out to ZANU-PF, and he has not agreed to respect the Supreme Court ruling. So that is what he said. Right. Komichi also said no MDC, MP, senator, or councillor is willing to leave the MDC to go with Nelson Chamisa to his new political party or to the MDC Alliance. So I want to go a bit further into that later on. What is the MDC Alliance? So Komichi covered that. I'm going to go into it. Then Komichi says, in response to his dismissal, that is the fourth point, he says Nelson Chamisa and people in the MDC Alliance cannot dismiss him because they are not in his political party. So MDC Alliance is not a political party. So what Job Scala announced as the resolutions of the standing committee, he said that does not make any difference. No one can dismiss him because they are not in MDCT. So people like Scala, Wende, BT, Judgement Mube, when they sit, they cannot make a resolution to dismiss someone who is not in their political party. Right, that is a very strong point. I think he made a very strong point there. And he said that the MDC Alliance is made up of 7 political parties. And after the extraordinary Congress, they are going to call all the 7 political parties and make a decision on whether to dissolve or to continue with the MDC Alliance. And I guess your guess is as good as mine. It's clear that the MDC Alliance will be dissolved after the extraordinary Congress of the MDC. At the moment, according to Komichi, the MDC Alliance does not have a leader because, according to that agreement, that election pact agreement, the leader of the MDCT is automatically the leader of the MDC Alliance. And at the moment, there is going to be an election of a new MDCT leader who is going to take over in the MDC Alliance. And I think as we go, you will see how this translate into money. That money that is coming from Parliament, it is going to go to MDCT of Ngonzora and Komichi, according to how he explained it. And I will show you how. Then another important point that Komichi made is that because this has just happened, the Supreme Court judgment has just been issued, people are still sympathetic to Nelson Chamisa. However, after a few months, people are going to turn their backs on Nelson Chamisa if he continues to operate against the Supreme Court ruling, because people are not following an individual, they are following a party. And if people see that Nelson Chamisa is not following the party constitution, they are going to turn against him. That is a key point that he made. Right, on the fact that he's been called a ZANU-PF puppet, or someone who was bought by ZANU-PF, Komichi said he is not a ZANU-PF puppet, he was not bought by ZANU-PF. When Ngube left, he was called a ZANU-PF puppet. When BT left, he was called a ZANU-PF puppet. When Kupe left, she was called a ZANU-PF puppet. He says he is just following the constitution of the party, and that is not being a ZANU-PF puppet. ZANU-PF was not there when the mistake was made, when MDC leaders decided not to follow their own constitution. And if he was a ZANU-PF puppet, he said, how come he's been arrested and kept in jail for 6 months? How come he stood up when Chigumba was announcing the results and challenged them? That is not the sign of a ZANU-PF puppet. That is what he said. So, very interesting defense. And he said he is in fact the most hated part or person by ZANU-PF. Right, let's go to what they are doing now. Komichi said at the moment, the current leadership of the MDC is reorganizing structures. Abednego Bebe, the organizing secretary of the MDC, has managed to conduct every single available organizing secretary or organizer. They've contacted those people, and at the moment, they have managed to conduct 60% of the structures, and they are going to be conducting, their target is 75%. This is how many people they want to conduct. And they're reorganizing the structures in preparation for the extraordinary Congress. So Abednego Bebe played a key part in this. You remember Abednego Bebe was in the Kupe MDCT. So at the moment he's doing all the work on the ground. I wonder how the Chamisa faction is doing work on the ground. Are they also talking to the organizing secretaries? The same ones that Abednego Bebe is talking to. Now let's go to the issue of money. I want to expand more on the issue of money. The 7.5 million, who does it belong to? According to Komichi's description, most of that money is going to go to Thokozani Kupe and their faction. Let me explain to you how he broke it down. The MDC Alliance has been allocated MPs to different parties. Tendai Biti got 4 MPs, Watchman Ngube got 4 MPs, and MDC Alliance got the rest of the MPs. So when the money comes, it's going to be split into different sides. The 4 MPs the money will go to Tendai Biti, the 4 MPs, the money will go to Watchman Ngube. The rest of the money will go to MDCT, which is led by Thokozani Kupe. So the money that is coming from Parliament, according to Komichi's description, is going to go to MDCT. There is a provisional ruling from the High Court which says the money must be given to MDC Alliance. And indeed, according to Komichi's explanation, that MDC Alliance is made up of MDCT, MDC Green, PDP, and most of the money will go to MDCT led by Thokozani Kupe. This is the explanation. And as for PDP, Komichi says BT did not dissolve his party. The party that BT led, PDP, which went into MDC Alliance, still exists and is led by Matibenga, there's a lady called Matibenga, she is now the president of that party. Wesman Ncube wrote a letter to dissolve his own party, MDCN. So he is now a member of MDCT. Wesman Ncube no longer belongs to any other party. He must in fact also respect the Supreme Court ruling. This is how Komichi explained it. Right, I want to go to the last part, and this is very important. ZCTU churches, organizations, other organizations which are also opposition or activists. Komichi is saying they are talking to these organizations, and I think the position of the ZCTU is going to be very important. You know that Komichi is coming from the background of the ZCTU, from the unions. It's going to be very interesting to see whether the ZCTU goes with Nelson Chamisa or they go with Komichi. These discussions are going to take place after the Extraordinary Congress. Right, I want to conclude now, and I want to show you my point of view. My point of view is that, most importantly, Nelson Chamisa will put himself at a disadvantage if he leaves the MDCT. However, it's up to the advisors to tell him what to do. I've given you my point of view from the very beginning. However, Morgan Komichi, Douglas Monzora, Thokozani Kupe, they feel that they're on the right side and they are getting ready to contest the MDC presidents. So these are not three people working together. These are people who are competing. And Nelson Chamisa could easily come in and contest that election. If he wins, he will emerge stronger with one MDC. Right, that is it. That is my point on the presidents. Then Thokozani Kupe, she's likely to fail to organize the Extraordinary Congress by end of June. So Komichi will be in charge when the Extraordinary Congress is finally held end of July. And Douglas Monzora, obviously, as the SG, is going to play a very important role in that Extraordinary Congress. So, as it stands right now, Komichi, very, very strong. Monzora, very, very strong. Kupe in the background. Chamisa in the background. So, Chamisa and Kupe, they are basically the guys who have lost out in terms of power and authority. Komichi and Monzora have gotten a bit more strength from the Supreme Court ruling, and if Monzora and Komichi play their cards right, they are going to go in the Extraordinary Congress as the people in charge. They are going to solidify their positions. The people on the side of Nelson Chamisa, they need to strategize. What do you do from this point? You cannot just be talking on social media. You need to be organizing on the ground, and you make a decision on whether you're going to go to that Congress or not. Otherwise, the bus is moving. I do not think Komichi is going to back down. And that's how I want to conclude. Right, thank you very much for watching. If you're watching this on WhatsApp, please send it to as many people as possible. If you're watching on Facebook and YouTube, please like, comment, and share.